It's interesting
Yeah.
that you brought up self-service machines, because it's also that's something that could be applied to like the likes of 3D printing, for example. You know, if you were to,
Self-service 3D printer, that'd be insane.
yeah, so if you went down the path of like thinking, hey, imagine having a self-service printer that, you know, had 3 types of materials it could print, right? In areas where, and if I used that, you know, the washing machine as an example, quite often, you know, there are machine models that don't have parts because they don't make them anymore, right? So those become obsolete, those washing machines. But for the price of maybe someone has the original design, and there's you know there is a database of all this stuff online for a lot of things, being able to activate that and actually print it in your community and have your washing machine fixed by a local serviceman. Hey, you know, that's a big difference between, you know, this throwaway world that we live in, you know, the throwaway society. So, you know, you can start to overlap some of these ideas into kind of like, you know, that self-service area. And you know, even if I think about the application of a 3D printer for, I guess, transport, you know, networks, or, you know, what do you call it? You know, transport management companies who need bloody road cones. Imagine being able to just print off a bunch of road cones in your area that you know, and they're made out of recycled materials. You know, like and throw your plastic into this thing, and it melts it down, and then it uses that to print it into bloody road cones.
Well, I mean, make it simple. I mean, there's one thing is obviously getting funding. But I mean, I like to think about ideas as well, like how you could make a start, like with relatively low risk, with like limited funding. Like I kind of, you know, that's always my preference, being relatively risk averse. But you could do the 3D printing thing, where it's like you just rent a retail store, and there's lots of that around at the moment because retail's struggling. Buy 2 decent high-spec machines, have a counter, start building up that library, and then have a menu and have people come in and request something being printed, because it's, you know, eventually people will end up with 3D printers in their homes, but they'll always be like, you know, like if you think about 2D printers, why aren't 2D printers doing 3D printing? Surely there must be in New Zealand. Surely, like, why isn't there a 2D printer with a 3D printer in Auckland? You know what I mean?
Like a printing, like the actual
printing
like
company that does paper, that does banners, that does. But yeah, and then another one I had was Epsom bath salts. You know Epsom bath salts? Epsom is actually a place in the UK, so you could have actual Epsom bath salts from Epsom.
Are you trying to create a drug network there, Mark? Aren't those the ones that are used for getting high?
Bath salts. I think people do, but I mean,
they used to.
I use bath salts all the time here. They're really good, and also you get magnesium ones now. Like, so they're on trend.
Yeah.
Another one is there's this guy I'm going to be talking about. I'm not sure if it's planning for anything, but it could be fun, especially for the program. But he's obsessed with this idea of mead. Like, he thinks that mead should come back in a big way. And I was thinking about the honey thing and people being into honey, and you could have, well, high proof mead, or alcoholic mead, or you could have like alcohol, or you could have mead that was, you know, mead is like the alcohol made out of honey, or you could have, imagine mead as a botanical, but with the alcohol taken out, which I haven't seen anyone do before. So all the, you know, the health benefits of Manuka honey, but Manuka honey mead, I just think, because I've seen mushroom coffee, that's massive. I've seen people made loads of money out of mushroom coffee. The other one is, what's the other one? Mushroom coffee, magnesium, I know is a big one.
There's a lot of those like matcha tea ones and all that sort of stuff.
Matcha tea, yeah, basically. But, and I guess, so I think there's ideas. I think
certainly from my perspective,
magnesium gummies, that's it.
With the idea, I think, like, I like the, obviously I like the idea of taking something and making money from it, right? I guess part of, what I want to be able to achieve is to look at something that is, maybe new and innovative. And that, creates its own challenge in itself, but something that you end up being, more proud of, as opposed to maybe it being a copied concept.
Yeah, I know. No, I know what you mean. Yeah, I know what you mean. I think part of what I like about the Joy Vault idea is that you can work on different projects, and the overall, the whole is the thing that you're building up to be able to launch the thing that you really care about. But ideally, yes, starting off with something that you're more passionate about is obviously going to be best, because you're going to be more motivated, aren't you? I'm proud of it to tell people what you're doing and talk about it. You just feel more confident, and so it's easier in that respect.
I think with something like this as well is setting a precedent for something like Joy Vault, if you're talking about that as the business, you're actually like setting the precedent of the type of work that you want to attract, as well as making people want to invest in you to support those ideas, because you're not just about, hey, we're copying this idea and we're just making tweaks and here we go. It's actually going, hey, we're trying to push the boundaries a bit more, and I guess maybe that's part of developing more of a definition around the core values of the business and that. Well, we've got ideas. We've got ideas at the moment, right? Which are something that once you land on something, obviously it makes it much easier to start to build a framework.
I think when you started, you were talking about a product or something that's kind of easy to do, but then when you go into the ideas and get a bit more passionate and discuss it, I think it's obvious that if you're gonna choose something and do something, it's going to require a fair amount of work and potentially some investment. Like it's some skin in the game,
Yeah. Ideally, that's a time investment, right, from the outset, without having to go down a monetary route. But that you'd prefer to spend someone else's money. Let's put it that way, to do that. But look, obviously, if it's a really strong idea, and you'll put whatever you need to towards it to make it work.
Oh yeah, definitely. I think so. It just depends on the idea, doesn't it? Because if you go down the route of 3D printing and you want to start doing that, then there's a point where you've got to pull the trigger and you got to go, okay, fine. How much does it cost to get a retail location? How much does it cost to buy 2 machines? Why are we going to pull them in? And how long are we going to give this a go? And who's going to run the store? But if you're talking about something else, which is like, oh, we just put up a website, it's e-commerce, whatever, then it's a couple of grand, isn't it? It's easy. It's mostly time. And then the third thing is like ideas that might feature on Joy Vault or might not, and just conversations with people like what we're having now. I'm trying to be as open as possible to everything, to try and just kind of bring in that eureka moment of absolutely, I'm in. This is what I want to work on.
So you're casting a net, basically.
And ideally, I'd love to work with you or something. I definitely think there's something there for me in terms of, ideally, it has some touch to the UK and some benefit to the UK, whether it's bringing something that's in the UK, and that could be 3D printers, or green tech, or it's something in New Zealand, and we go, okay, we need a bigger market for this. But there's no Kiwi company that's got the capability or want to go to the UK market and sell it there. Whereas I can.
If we go along that line of thinking, 3D printing, just staying on that, I think what would be needed would be a trip to somewhere like Asia, where a lot of the technology comes out of, identifying affordable things like that, rather than it necessarily being about relying on what is capable
already around. Yeah, I think you're right. Have you read reading Shoe Dog at the moment? It's the story of Nike. It's really good. It's really good. I've read it, and it just shows you also in that what a fuckwit he was, but he's still successful because he was passionate about what he wanted to do, and he
he knew.
lucky.
Just go, and
he got lucky.
Yeah,
he went to Japan, and Japan. So it's like looking at world events too, because it's like to make something, because like Japan had just come out of the Second World War. They were starting to manufacture. I've read one about Nintendo too, and there was this period where Japan was just the factory of the world for everything. You just go to Japan, get something out of Japan, sell it in America. Get the license for it. And that's what's quite good about New Zealand, is it's a really good place, and lots of Kiwis get rich in New Zealand because they're the dude that bring the thing over, and there's so little competition that as long as it's what Kiwis want, then it's pretty easy. And another thing is saunas as well. Like, I'm interested in that here because it's a big thing here. Like, even small villages, small towns will have their own sauna now. And you can imagine getting getting a horse box thing out to a sauna, putting it in a village, someone mans it, you book it on an app on the phone, and again, it's almost like that self-service machine idea in a sense. It's micro real estate.
Yeah. Well, I think with all of this, if I took like a blanket look at what you're talking about with self-service, right? It's also identifying, are we talking about creating a network, or you're talking about utilizing a network that's already there? And for example, if you talk about utilizing a network that's already there, half the job's done, right, in terms of being able to deliver these things into these places. So example of that being able to leverage what do they call it? Regional, I don't know, is it regional funding? So obviously there's regional funding that government provides for certain projects that provide to communities, right?
Yeah,
and
so sauna in the UK, they're backed by the government because it's such a good product and it really makes people feel really good and healthy. So there's the sauna company that's in London. They've basically in the last 2 years have gone from no sites to like 6 sites all around London. And they're backed by the government because it's called the community sauna. I don't know if you've ever had a proper sauna, but it is an amazing high when you do it properly. A hot sauna and then a cold bath straight afterwards and back and forth. It is an amazing natural high. It's so good for mental health and stuff. So that's why I'm quite passionate about that one, because it's actually a really good product. And then the idea is you don't need a fixed space. You get a space, you get permission, and because it's all on horse boxes and everything is movable and you can do it in places. You don't have to worry about having building actual buildings. Everything comes in and moves out. It's so it means that your regulations are so much lower and it's easier. You just keep on, you put a couple of grand together, get one sauna, get the location, get a cold tank, you run it yourself, and you can get started immediately.